Welcome to Conversations in the Closet with your host, motivational speaker, fitness expert, and fashion guru, Teresa Romer.
Look at these claws.
I love the nails. I love the nails.
I'm like, these things are like weapons. Like,
they really are.
As soon as I got them done, I poked myself in the eye. And then, like, later that day, I went to go to the bathroom and poked my asshole. I was like, God damn, I'm going to injure myself.
Gotta get used to the sharp claws.
Jesus Christ. And it's so sad that my husband doesn't like back rubs, like back scratches.
Are you kidding?
No. And I'm like,
oh my God, I beg for it. Matt has the kids trained that they both give them to him every night. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. What am I?
I'm like, what am I? Seriously. He gets
okay, ready? Welcome back. We are still in a great conversation with Michael Pierce.
My telenovela of a life.
We're on another cliffhanger here.
All right, reminder. I was talking about so I won't go into the long story part about it. I'm being very upfront, and my husband's going to hate this because so many people have been talking about it for so long because I was so integral on TV talking about charity events. And I was writing for the paper about them, blogging, and either I chaired or I emceed, and I went to 5 to 10 events a week. It was a lot. And
I mean, like, I go to a lot, guys, but I mean, like, he blew me away. Like, I was like, Michael, are you ever going to stay home and see your kids? You know, literally. It got to the point where I was like, you're missing out on your kids' life because you're never home.
Well, I would actually
between work and all the charity events.
Leave and get home in time to tuck them into bed, but I was missing a lot of the daytime.
Oh, yeah.
And what people didn't know was at the same time, I had been bouncing from doctor to doctor for about a year and a half. I probably saw 50 different specialists. So we're really lucky. Houston has an amazing medical community.
But what's scary, though, guys, is we live in probably one of the best cities in the world we're known for all of our medical that we have here, including MD Anderson. Mm-hmm. And what was very frustrating for me with you was knowing that you were seeing so many specialists and yet no one could figure out what was wrong. And I'm like, wait a minute, we live in one of the best medical cities in the world, and you're telling me with all these amazing medical specialists we have here, nobody can figure out what's wrong with you? I was ready to put you in my car and drive you to Mayo Clinic. Never mind. I don't drive that far. Okay,
I would
have bought the plane ticket.
No, we were taking a jet. Come on, I chip in. Let's go right. I actually talked about the Mayo Clinic, and that was the hardest part for me, and I never talked about this. And I said I will eventually, like you, do a video version talking about this story because so many people asked. I didn't tell them.
Right.
But the roller coaster of getting some glimmer of hope as you got a new specialist, and they could see the desperation in my eyes. And before I went to the pain management doctor, being in recovery, I am really afraid of taking anything addictive. But the pain was so high that literally, I had become bedridden.
Yeah, you were bedridden.
I was going from ER to ER to ER, and I'm like, I've got to somehow manage the pain while I get diagnosed, because I would be at an event, and I would be popping painkillers, and if I missed that pain pill by like 5 minutes or more, I would have to find a way to exit the event, and I can't tell you how many times I was in a parking garage in the fetal position, screaming and cussing, waiting for the pill to somehow get the pain low enough that I could get home. So, but good news is I was not able to diagnose it, which is what I wanted, but I was able to eliminate the pain. And so now I've been having to go coming off of them. And it's been a very different experience for me because I was so careful to have 2 different doctors watching me and keeping me honest because I didn't want to have an NA problem because I do have an addictive personality. But this has really sucked. I have the worst withdrawal symptoms from these because of how many things I was taking and how long and for how long it took me. And it ruined literally ruined my body. I lost teeth, and I was known in Houston for my smile, so I'm having to get that's why I'm sounding like I have a lisp now. I'm having to fix my freaking teeth. But it was a tough time, but I'm coming out of it. So again, life knocks you down, you're going to come out.
Just jump back up. So back to being gay.
Yeah.
Going into corporate America, was it hard going into corporate America? Because you were a big corporate lawyer, you know, so how accepting was it, or were you scared to come out?
I was petrified. At the time I had my law license, it was still illegal to be gay. There was a case, and for those of you who don't know the history of the Supreme Court decision, there was this couple had been together for a number of years. The police raided broke into their house and caught them in bed together, and then arrested them. And in Texas, there were politicians using this law to strip gay men and women of their children, of their professions. So I could lose my law license. I was told,
Wow.
don't let anyone know you're gay because you could lose your license. You could go to jail. And thank God for these guys who fought it all the way to Supreme Court. And thank God for the lawyers we had here who did an amazing job. But when I got here, that was the case. So I sat with Matt for a very long time thinking, what do I do about this? Because I've always worked around very conservative people. I worked in the oil and gas industry because
Right.
it's Texas.
Right.
It's either medicine
Right.
or oil and gas.
Right.
And I came out. My first boss was a woman. It was a lot easier. I just gradually have always thought of myself, I'm no different than any of my straight friends. So
Right.
if I'm going to talk about my kids or my husband, I'm going to talk about them. And if somebody gets surprised by it, I'll answer it.
So you got married to Matt before Texas allowed gay marriages. You
Yes.
got married in California, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said I was getting married in every state until it was legalized in Texas. And then, bam, the Supreme Court decision came down. I was like, shoot, I was going to have a whole lot of weddings. But yeah, we hopped on a plane the day they said other people from different states had come out. And Matt was so sweet, he tried to get Tori Spelling to get us to marry him, and she had one of her kids that time. And then he had like the mayor coming. But it was a small ceremony
Right.
because we had just popped
Right.
up the flu.
Right.
But I wanted to get married before we moved in. I'm conservative. I want to be married before I had kids. I'm not that girl. Or that guy.
Even though your past.
My past may say otherwise. I have purified myself now.
So you just decided to come out at work and
I did, and I never had a problem.
You didn't feel like you were going to be punished in any way, or
I could, because
Right.
the only way that you would have any protections in the state of Texas is if the company had adopted sexual orientation or gender identity in its company policy. So
Right.
guess what the first thing I did when I got into every company? I said, let's look at that employee handbook and see what change we can make. And I tried to talk about it. I wasn't very active in sort of pushing my agenda to anyone, but I wasn't quiet about it.
Right.
And I had to think about every job that I went to, because the next job I went to was to a law firm with a very staunch Republican. And I learned very early on that people don't give a blank about your sexual orientation when they're in trouble. They just care about you getting their butt out of the fire.
See?
And if you're a good lawyer,
Right.
they don't care.
Right.
So
Right.
I was making a lot of money for him, so he could care less what I was doing.
Right. But
So-
don't you think being gay is just totally different than it was 20 years ago?
Oh my God, it is. And I'm so grateful to see this, because again, I told you, for me it was a death sentence. To be gay meant that you were going to die, and the suicide rate was staggering. I don't know the statistics on it now. I remember I actually wrote a paper and presented on it because I was actually researching my own story. But now there's so many other resources, and there's so many other people who are taking in those kids. But
Right.
sadly, there are still a lot of people from you go outside of Houston, it's a very different world. And
Very different. And when I say, wow, I would have thought the East Coast would have accepted gays more than Texas, I'm not meaning all of Texas.
That's
Because there's areas of Texas, and I'm not going to name the cities, but
we all know them.
But yeah, there was a kid the other night that I know that got beat up here in the Woodlands for being gay. It's really sad.
It's a pendulum. Whenever there is any progress for gay rights or LGBT rights, then you will see a backlash of hate crimes. And I remember in Montrose, which is sort of the gay town here in Houston, right when the Supreme Court decision happened, there were several beatings with people who, I think one person was killed, and I apologize if I'm getting this wrong. So anybody out there, you can comment below, send me the hate mail.
the haters will come after you, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Like, oh, he got that wrong.
I never went to gay bars. I met my husband at art shows and other things. I was not the gay part.
Yeah.
But I did. Well, no, I dated several dick dancers, so okay, never mind. Forget what I said. But they were literally patrolling to find gay men with baseball bats and beating.
But I have another friend, and he literally, because his father was a very prominent Texas rancher, there was no way he could come out of the closet in the 80s because he didn't want to embarrass his father, because his father was extremely prominent rancher in the ranching community, So he literally went and got married and had a child, doing the right thing in life, only to end up getting divorced and coming out of the closet finally,
But missing so much of his life, not living his life,
Right.
and affecting this woman he was married to.
So then it affected this woman.
His
and
kids.
a kid, thank God just one kid, but but it's amazing how many, and I think maybe more men than women, I don't know the statistics, but it's so sad to see how many men go and live a life that look at the Caitlyn Jenner.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's also
Caitlyn
based
Jenner.
on your race. If you look at the race, it's
Right.
very, very different too.
Right.
So,
Right. But it
sadly-
seems like it's more accepting for women to be gay.
Well, yeah, because
than it
there's
is
this
to
guy
be-
fantasy of these two hot girls going at it. So, like the two hot lesbians. I even admit I've rented that video. But so in that mind, guys are
Well, that's
like, okay
because
with it.
guys always think that's a,
But
but guys don't want to see two guys going at it.
No, but for the same reason, that's why it's usually harder for fathers. I was deathly afraid for my dad. I couldn't tell him. I told my sister.
Oh, so when
and-
when mom found out, dad didn't find
No,
out?
she didn't tell him. God love her. I told my sister, and she was drunk at the time, and so she said something like, It was sort of negative, but she
Right.
thought I was kidding. It was bad on my part to tell her when she were at the bar and she went out drinking, but it's the only time I had courage to do it. But she later figured it out. When I graduated from law school, I was dating this guy who was much older than me, but we had been very serious for a while. So my whole family from all over the country flew in for my graduation, including my grandmother and my dad. And so I introduced him to my boyfriend. And that was my dad's first time realizing that I was gay.
Wow.
And he's never once said a word about it.
Really?
But we have a very unusual relationship. So I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, there's a whole other topic
Well,
on
I
that.
bet he's probably happy that you're married and you did that the right way and that you're having kids being married. You know what I'm saying?
He has shaped my life more than anyone. And I've told him this a lot more now as he's getting older and I'm getting older. We've had a lot better conversations. And I found out for years, I thought I was getting in trouble when I used to get drunk and steal lawn jockeys. I used to do all kinds of crazy stuff. In fact, one time I had to call my dad at 2 a.m. I'll have to tell you this dirty story in a minute, I think.
I want to hear more about stealing these lawn jockeys.
I have. It's really funny.
It sounds like you did more than I did. Ooh.
You've been listening to Conversations in the Closet. We will return again same time next week. Brought to you by NI30D Athletics.